And we're live.
It's on.
Hey, babe.
Hi.
So this is
Good
my
evening.
good evening. Good Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. You too.
So we're celebrating Christmas 2018 on the eve of UFC 232, and that'll be one of the many subjects we cover here today on the
Yep.
Flow Fact. I'm out of practice. I just got super nervous, man. Yeah. So we're the On the Flow Factory podcast. Cue the music. So we just got out of a little hellfire with our son. Was crying up a storm before we put him down.
Yeah.
So just for a little context, my brother, the set designer, the producer, the bones, the meat and potatoes of this podcast.
The man behind the entire thing.
Yeah, sets up this whole thing and makes it look pretty and beautiful, and the sound quality and the mics and the cameras. And so while he's doing all that, we're trying to give a shower and read to our son. He's 2 years old and he's rambunctious and wants to wear Shirley's shoes on his hands and on his feet and is crawling around in bed. And we're trying to okay, it's time to sleep. We got to go do our podcast.
Yeah, kind of calm things down. And then they're so smart too. He's bargaining with us the whole time.
The whole time.
Every time we say, okay, let's go to bed, he brings another book. I start hiding books because otherwise we're going to read all of them before bed.
And then he wants to wrestle with me. And then if I get him too riled up, it's just another 30 minutes of being awake. So, yeah, but it's good to be, a little
quiet,
bit.
Yeah. Silent in the house, and we can talk a little podcast.
Yeah. So how have you been, baby?
Good. Good. We had a good holiday, right? I've been off from work for a couple days and just hanging out with the family and opening lots of gifts and lots of toys. But yeah, it's been fun. And then tomorrow, Justin heads to Vegas.
Yes, I do.
You're coaching Kat Zingano this weekend. A little bit of kind of like a mess already with the fight. So you're going to fly to Vegas and then fly to LA from there.
Because this one guy can't keep a needle out of his ass, basically. So
can't stay out of trouble.
So I'm flying into Las Vegas, which was planned. And then from there, I fly on a chartered airplane. The red corner and the blue corner each have separate airplanes. And we go to Los Angeles on Thursday. So we're going to be traveling to, I don't know what hotel we're staying at.
The UFC probably doesn't even know yet. So that's the last minute.
There was a UFC at the Forum that I cornered at a year ago. And it was a really nice hotel, the host hotel. I forgot which one it was. But so we're going to be flying from Vegas to Los Angeles then for those 2 days for basically just weigh-ins and the fight night. And then the next morning, I booked my own flight to go back to Vegas because I'm going to meet my bro, Leilani, my wife, Shirley, Adam, my dad's, I don't know, what do we call Selene? She's
just Auntie Selene now.
Auntie Selene. She's my sister's age, but she's Auntie Selene. So then it's going to be a New Year's in Vegas, which will be fun.
Yeah.
With a 2-year-old, we'll see how that pans
we'll
out. We'll be in bed by 8, but Vegas as a parent is not really.
It'll be fun. I've been researching, so there's some cool things for kids to do in Vegas, surprisingly. So.
What is Circus? What is there?
There is Circus. I didn't know there's a whole theme park in Vegas. And they have a lot of animals and fish, and when they're older, you can go swimming with dolphins in Vegas on the Strip.
But Adam can't.
No, he can't do that. But they have tide pools and tigers. He was really excited about the tigers. So.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about that. He was
I was telling him about it before bed. So it'll be fun. Vegas will be fun.
So crazy how he's talking and he's saying sentences and actually getting thoughts out. And he always puts our MMA gloves on and starts punching. He's punching me. It's uh-oh.
Boom.
Yeah, boom. And he'll get behind me and throw me in a rear naked choke. He'll throw you in an arm bar.
Yeah, he likes to do the arm bars.
He definitely is good at taking the back, for sure. That's his favorite move, is crawling up onto my back and throwing the hooks in. Well, not quite the hooks, just his arms over my neck and trying to choke me.
Yeah, he sees a little bit of it, and it goes a long way, I think.
Yeah.
Sunday morning wrestling sessions at the house. He sees those.
His teachers aren't the biggest fan of me. Whenever they see me, they're like, well, maybe you should stop the wrestling because he's taking it out on all these kids.
He wrestles at school, yeah.
Got to defend himself. He's been bit 5 times at school.
Yeah, but I guess he's got like really good technique is what his other teachers. One teacher doesn't like it at all. But his other teacher's like, actually, it was really nice technique he was using.
Oh, yeah, Mion's
like,
the best.
He got really down low and tackled, hugged one leg at a time. Really good technique.
Oh, that was when he was doing it on the teachers, right?
No, on the kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she told me that. She was kind of proud of him.
Good. For Mion's the best.
Yeah.
Nicole, not so much.
Shout out to Mion.
Yeah. I'm sure they're not going to listen, but if they do, they know why.
Cool. Yeah.
They're each in their camp of ugh and awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through this fight. I guess the card.
Yeah.
I don't really know much of the super undercard, like the one that's the prelim.
Yeah.
But I know everything above that, which like is your BJ Penn versus Ryan Hall, Megan Anderson, Kat, Andre Arlovsky is fighting on that, and then the main card's really good.
Yeah. So do you want to start talking about Kat? Like a little bit of thoughts on that? I mean, this is your first full camp with her.
Yeah.
You worked with her a few times before her last fight, and it showed.
Yeah,
I mean, she had really impressive takedowns.
I mean, I can't take credit or responsibility for how she performed in her last fight, even though she did, had confidence, and she even said that like it really helped to work with me those few times, and she used some technique that's Sasai Sudikomiyashi, that's a foot sweep she used in the fight, one of her like 7 takedowns that night. But I think this camp we worked a lot more specifically on like honing the stuff that she already does, make it really super tight, and then adding a few new things, nothing too much. And then by the end of the camp, basically just doing what she does and going into like grappling sessions and sparring sessions with whatever's available, where her training partners are going to, are being just like Megan. They're tall, leading with the same leg she does and acting the same way that Megan Anderson does. So it wasn't like, okay, these are the moves you're going to do, go do them, because that's what I say and that's what I like. Not at all.
Yeah, it's like tweaking little things. She's such like a mature fighter at this point in her career that it's like tweaking little things, right?
Yeah.
And then like how do you show up the best against that specific style that Megan Anderson has?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Kat's really good at closing the distance, at being able to be far away and then commit to something and get a hold of her opponent. So I think she's going to have a lot of success getting in there rather than staying on the outside and in range of the longer, taller Megan Anderson, who's like, I think, almost 6 feet tall.
Yeah, she's 6 feet tall. And that's like, I think the one thing that it's not a question mark, but Megan Anderson's like a true 145. They were for a long time saying that she was going to be the girl to really give Cyborg a fight, because they both actually walk around 170, and then Kat obviously is going up. I mean, Kat's a big 135er, but she's probably going to be the smaller fighter that night. But
yeah, she's actually going to make both of them. I'm not sure if both of them are going to make scratch, but I know Kat has to make scratch weight. She has to make 145 just in case.
That's interesting. Okay.
If Cyborg or Nunes gets injured or gets sick or something happens and that fight falls out, Kat replaces the one who falls out and is fighting for the 145 belts. So I don't see that really happening at this point. I texted Jason Perillo and asked him, I'm like, hey, any news on any injuries that I don't know of or anything happening? And he just laughed it off. So I don't see that happening on that side, but you never know. So she'll be prepared to fight one of 3 people.
Which is crazy in its own, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, crazier things have happened. Fights get relocated and moved with 5 days notice, and everyone has to accommodate one person's mistakes, which is like, it affects me sure, there's the fighters, they're the main focus, but it trickles into so many other people's lives that are affected by this, and I don't think this one guy really cares that much. So
yeah. So if you think about the rest of the card, let's not talk about like the co-main and main, because we'll talk about that later. But what other fight kind of is like
BJ
really
Penn,
interesting
Ryan
to
Hall
you?
to me, because BJ Penn is, I mean, every fight you think it's his last fight, but this is a last fight that he can possibly win.
He can actually win.
So it's grappler versus grappler.
He doesn't have to be worried about getting like punched 16 times.
Yair Rodriguez kicked
exactly.
360 to the dome 4 times. I think that it's an interesting matchup. I think their striking will kind of be negated by each other, because Ryan Hall just jumps into these leg locks and pulls guard and is really versatile in his like 50-50 attack, which is where you go to your back and then you interlace your legs with your opponents, and he's pretty dangerous from there. But his striking is average at best. So that's where BJ Penn will have his advantage. And BJ Penn's a little bit more of like a old school jiu-jitsu champion.
So do you think that Ryan Hall is still going to want to go to the ground?
Yes.
Yeah. He's just that much better than BJ Penn, even on the ground.
I think that's his only way to win.
Okay.
So at some point, he's going to have to threaten leg locks or be able to use a sweep to get BJ's back, which is going to be really difficult. Who knows what BJ Penn is going to show up. I mean, I had the opportunity to train with him, and it definitely wasn't at his best. So I think it depends. I mean, BJ circa 2004 or BJ Penn of
But
present.
realistically, right? He's not going to make
Father
leaps
time.
back to 2004.
Yeah, Father Time gets us all, and BJ Penn is a year older than me to the day. His birthday's like December 4th. So that means he's 40 as of 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you don't see many 40-year-olds fighting at 145. In the heavier weights, you do, but not at the lighter weights. It's just
but he's had so many fights, too. Like, he's got a lot of just
baggage,
miles. And yeah, exactly. So who do you pick for that fight?
I have to go with Ryan Hall.
Submission?
Just decision, kind of
boring
like
fight.
To the trained eye, the grappler. I think it'll be interesting. These like little micro positions of control and see how it plays out. I think there'll be some interest there for like people that know what's going on, but for Joe Sixpack fan, not really. They're gonna kind of be like, stand them up, beat the rat, like.
Yeah.
So I don't see there being a lot of like high action for like knockout stuff, but I see it being interesting to see who has the upper hand in the grappling. It's like modern jiu-jitsu, which is like all these inverted guards and 50-50 and these positions that are a little I don't know, more innovative but less control based. So you have BJ Penn, who is like world champion back when jiu-jitsu was just getting popular in the world. So I think BJ Penn might be able to initially get like the takedown or control.
Yeah.
But maybe the more time that goes on, Ryan Hall will be able to work something and get the control and maybe a submission. So that fight, let us coin toss. You never know.
Yeah.
If BJ Penn's been training in Brazil the last 5 months, I think.
Has he been?
Nova and Yao, his original, Andre Pederneiras, his original like jiu-jitsu academy, everything. So it's plausible that he goes back to his old ways and is in shape and is training the way he should be, like to be the BJ Penn everyone knows and loves from old. But we'll never know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
What other fight?
I think Andre Arlovski's the next one after Kat Zingano on the undercard. But I'm not sure who he's fighting, so it's hard to even make a gauge. That guy's, Father Time's hitting that guy up too. He's in his early 40s. I think he looks like he's in his 50s.
Right. Yeah, he's had some tough fights and losses recently.
Yeah.
What about, okay, so let's fast forward to the kind of main event. What are your thoughts on Chris Cyborg against Amanda Nunes?
I don't know. What do you think? You follow WMMA more than I do, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anyone's going to beat Cyborg, it might be Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a tough fighter. She's got power in her hands. She's confident. Cyborg's going to be a lot bigger. I just feel like the last few matches, it's one of those things where I think we saw with Ronda too, where she was just like so much better than everyone that she fought. And over time, just with the maturity of the sport, other people caught up to her. And I think it's kind of the same thing with Cyborg, where she was like just so dominant. And in our last few fights, she's been dominant. I don't want to take anything away from her, but girls are kind of figuring out how to fight her, how to hang around with her. I mean,
who'd she fight in Shevchenko, her last 2 fights? And those were both decisions that were kind of controversial. So Shevchenko's like probably pound for pound now.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about Cyborg. Okay. Cyborg, yeah. So, I mean, like, even Tanya Evinger kind of hung around tough with Cyborg.
I think took her down maybe once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like stuff like that where I think Amanda Nunes could give her a good fight.
I think Amanda's style, she has like a lot of range. She has a lot of range, and then she can keep her distance in a way that's going to keep her safe, because Cyborg likes to, I think, strike at a little closer proximity than Amanda Nunes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the most knowledgeable striker, to say the least. So it's hard to kind of see who's has like the upper hand in the striking battle.
Right.
But I think if it gets to the ground, I think what I know about Amanda Nunes, and I've seen her fight like with Kat Zingano, Kat took her to the ground and demolished her. So
Yeah. But will Cyborg try to take her down? I don't think so, right?
I don't think she really has takedowns. So other than she worked with a judo great Israel Hernandez for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that rubbed off on her enough to actually have a takedown or two, but it doesn't. I've seen her pull mount a few times where she tries
She
some
just, like,
wild
freaks
dumb
out and-
takedown
yeah.
and falls on her back and gets mounted, but she's so Hulk strong that she's just like rah and gets out. So I don't know. I mean, Amanda Nunes is, if she's fresh still and isn't gassed out and that happens, she could win right then.
Yeah.
If like there's a slip up and a mistake that Cyborg, you know, she's not the most savvy in the takedown department. So, but that fight, it could be over in 45 seconds on
Right.
either end.
Yeah.
Both of them have ended fights just that in that
Right.
duration. So
Or it could be like a super boring
five
round
round
fight.
where they touch their hands 30 times.
Yeah.
Because they're both friends. Oh, they're not friends, right? They don't like
No,
each other.
but, yeah. I mean, they're just, yeah.
Is there any
they're just-
drama there? Like, I
I
don't
don't
follow
know.
that as much, so I don't know.
No, but that's why no one like really cares.
Yeah,
about that
that's
fight.
why they moved the card.
Yeah, that's why
It's
they
'cause
moved
they
the
don't-
card because, yeah, they don't. I don't think they trust
So-
that. They have faith in that fight to sell any pay-per-views because no one really cares. Like neither one of them really like. I don't know.
So I guess the whole reason why they moved the card is they want the, or I don't know the facts here, but you could guess that the pay-per-views would be the main driving force of revenue rather than the gate. And the T-Mobile Arena has, I think, 20,000 people that can fit, and the Forum has about 15,000 or a little less. And what I read is there's not going to be one seat at the Forum that's going to be more than $300. So you
Okay.
could be front row and it's $300, where usually it's tenfold.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I don't think they're going to sell out, but they might if it's $300, but they're not going to
Yeah,
make a big
there's-
gate.
Right.
So they
The gate
moved
won't be big.
they moved the whole event just to keep the pay-per-view numbers high. And this might have even got those up, do you think? Just because of like the storyline, or people
there's
just
a little more of a storyline. I think. Yeah.
I think
it's
people are just-
a little more in the news than it would have been otherwise, and I'm sure that bumps it up a little more too.
I'm doing my what's it called when you're on an internet forum and you don't ever post but you're always lurking. I've
Yeah.
been lurking the underground forum a lot the last 2 days, more than I rarely ever do. And that everyone hates John Jones. Everyone's like, I'm not buying it. I'll stream it for free on Reddit or whatever.
Yeah, it's been interesting too. I mean, obviously it impacts the fighters way more than it impacts you, but to think about all of the people that are impacted, whether they are fans or coaches or fighters, and like for the organization to just say F you to all of those people, we don't really care about you.
The 1% is all that matters.
Exactly. I mean, it's like less than 1%. It's like all to cater to Jones and like what the interest of the owners.
It's funny because on the embeddeds, Gustafsson was like, they were doing some phone interview with some publication where John Jones was on a phone and Gustafsson was on another phone. And then after they hung up, they were filming Gustafsson. He's like, this guy thinks he's in a movie, like he's in a love story, because the way he talks is like, he's like, glory to God and I love everyone. Like, but this is before
All
the
of
shit
this
went down.
happened,
So
yeah. But it is just kind of the more and more you see of him, it's like, wow, this guy just has no consequences in his life.
Yeah.
Like nothing that he does.
well, if you draw the timeline out, he's hit. I think she was pregnant. The lady broke her leg. He wrapped his car around a pole and totaled like a Bentley or some really nice car while he was drunk. He failed a drug test for cocaine. He failed the drug test for steroids. He hid under a cage at his gym while USADA was there for hours on end.
Yeah, when he hit that lady, he ran away. So that was.
But he
it
came
was a
back for the
drunk-
weed, I think, right?
Yeah, drunk driving, hit and run.
Yeah. So I mean,
Like it's just crazy on top of each other. Yet he still gets
A slap on the wrist.
A slap on the wrist and the chance to be in the limelight.
What was it, like the dick pill thing? That's what the claim was, right? Or
Yeah.
the tainted supplements, not dick. No, it was dick pills.
Yeah, and then now they're saying that it's just left over in there from 3 years ago or whatever. But
I've done.
Hopefully that stuff catches up.
The science for that is which the underground I've been reading, and I guess that turinabol, or the substance that he failed for, has a half-life of 16 hours. So it's been like 18 months since he failed that drug test, and it's still in his system. Like, he was saying a pinch of salt in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That was like the storyline he kept pushing on when he was doing interviews. And how is that plausible or possible when it's been a year and a half and it's still showing up the same? So a lot of people think he's microdosing. So he's taking just a little bit every day just to keep, I don't know, it builds in your system and recovery and the kind of things that I'm sure some like Dr. Conti, like these doctors that are super on the ball for cheating, some doctors probably telling him, hey, if you take this little bit every day, you won't fail your drug test and you'll be able to pass it. But he was wrong. But
so thoughts on the fight?
The Gus
against Jones, right? They said their last fight 5 years ago was arguably the best fight in UFC history.
I tried to I tried to watch it because they just offered it free on YouTube, and if I know the outcome, it's like it's hard to get into it. So I watched like the first 2 or 3 rounds, and Gustafsson was taking it to Jones and kind of beating him. And then I think Adam started crying and woke up from his nap. So I was like, okay, that's over. But it looked like, from what I saw in those first few rounds, Gustafsson took him down, was beating his ass, and then it must have been in the later rounds that Jones came back.
And it was, I don't know if it was split, but it was really close, and 5 rounds, and it was very controversial. Like, a lot of people thought that Gus won. Jones was the champion, so you always get a little bit kind of of preferential
as the
treatment
champ
towards him as his champ, but Gus hasn't fought a lot since either. How many fights has he had in the last 3 years?
He took a year and a half off. I think it was Rumble who just like jacked his brain up a little bit, where he got knocked out hard, quick, like 2 years ago. And then he fought someone, I forgot the guy's name, big bald Brazilian dude that trains with Chuck Liddell pretty recently, or a year ago. He beat him really easy. But I don't know, that division as a whole, it's hard for me to be super pumped about. It's just bigger guys, so I generally work with smaller people, so that's what I'm more focused on and study and enjoy the technical side of things. So the bigger fighters are like more of like a freak show entertainment to me than like.
Well, and that division doesn't have like a lot of, I don't know, matchups and intriguing matchups and a lot of fights. Like, you have DC, who's the champ. He's been the champ for a long time.
Who's fighting at heavyweight now, so it doesn't even.
So that's out.
And he's retiring after the next.
Gus had, not that many fights in the last 3 years. John Jones obviously hasn't. Rumble retired, so it's like there's not that much movement at the very top of that division. So it's not that intriguing and interesting, and involves a lot of storylines. So I don't think that helps either.
I can't place a name right now of anyone coming up that's like, that's the next guy. Or I don't know. It's hard to.
Is Anthony Smith, is that guy?
That
division?
But didn't he lose recently?
I don't know.
I think no, maybe not. No,
so.
maybe that's the guy.
He might be the next guy.
Look at you and these names you're pulling out. You are the brains of the
here
operation.
And there, when I drive to work, I listen to Ariel Helwani's podcast. So
shout out
Ariel.
to Ariel Helwani's new podcast. What's the new name? ESPN.
Just Ariel Helwani's MMA show.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I keep up with MMA stuff. But so who do you have on that fight? Who do you think wins?
Jones, of course.
Jones, you think it's going to be a decision or
I think
knockout?
I think it'll be kind of spectacular. Because when we were sitting, we got those nice seats thanks to Brad Slater for the hookup. When John Jones fought DC in his last fight, it was in Anaheim. And we were right there in the blood splatter section. Man, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like. I looked at your eyes right after.
I was cringing. I don't usually cringe.
You were like, I don't know if I'm a fan of this anymore. This sport.
Yeah,
it was like,
it was bad. It was just not. It was. Stop the fight, not enjoyable.
There was like 11 strikes to the dome,
this man is
elbows, I think they were too.
hurt bad. Yeah.
And then he was crying, remember? He was crying, and it looked so sad, dude.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think everything that John Jones does, though, then and now is just questionable, and there's, to me, more than an asterisk next to it.
So that was the same. So Cyborg was on that same card. So now they're like running parallel, or did Cyborg fight an extra time in between?
I think she fought an extra time in Brazil. Between.
Okay. Against who?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
She had a fight in Brazil recently. Not recently, but like a year ago.
I don't. Yeah, 145 is hard to follow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be the biggest follower of 145 when Kat gets the title.
I know,
and then as
right?
double champ, right? That'll
There
be
you
cool.
go. Yep.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't know if it'll play out that way because whatever the UFC chooses, she kind of should do, right? Like if they say go back down, we'll give you a title shot.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think if she wins this, when she wins this, it's kind of an intriguing matchup depending on what happens with Nunes because she has a win against Nunes, who's a current champ. So
that fight was fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, it's no like gimme if she fights Nunes. That's the rough one. But yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean that puts her. She hasn't fought a ton in the last 3 years, but she won her last fight, and then she goes up to 145. She wins. I don't know. Is Nunes a double champ, or is Nunes going back down to 35 because she just lost? So
yeah,
I think it kind of depends a lot on what happens on Saturday.
Yeah. And then who else is on that main card? There's those two.
Chad Mendes is fighting.
He's on the main card?
He's on the first fight on the main card. I forget his name.
Cool.
Ayir Latif or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that big old, like, Swedish dude?
Yeah, Swedish guy who's
okay,
like 4
we got
feet
it right
tall,
here. We got
really
Carlos
jacked.
Condit and Michael Chiesa. That's a good one. That's Harry St. Ledger will be in the corner of Carlos Condit, or as most people say, Conduit. Ilir Latifi, Corey Anderson was, I think, an Ultimate Fighter champion wrestler. Chad Mendes and Alexander Volkanovski. I don't know if I've ever seen that guy fight.
This is Chad Mendes' second fight, right? Coming
Since off the suspension,
since
yeah.
The suspension. He looked good in his last one.
Miles Jury, that was the Alliance guy.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe let's talk a little bit about that as we kind of start, maybe not wrapping up yet, but heading that way. What's kind of like share with us what your involvement is, your schedule for the first quarter of 2019 might look like. You're always busy with a lot of different things. It's the middle of wrestling season for your high schoolers. You've got the Alliance guys. Dominic Cruz just got hurt, even though you're coaching him.
I know. Bummer.
U.S. Judo, like.
Yeah, so I'll start with Dom because over the last 6 months, me and him have gotten pretty close, and I've been working with him slowly but surely, building a relationship and working towards getting him back to top form to be fighting for the title. And he had a fight on the books, John Lineker, and during like an easy spar day, he blew out his shoulder, and he was pretty broken up about it. And we had a lot of long conversations about just injuries and the road back, and he knows more about that than anyone. I've had my run of the mill of knee injuries. I've had a dozen knee surgeries, so 5 of which are ligament surgeries, which are 9-10 months on the disabled list there. So he's gonna rehab, and he knows it's out of his control, and he has to detach emotionally from like all the things and that he's missing out on, and how his career might be over, and having to deal with all those thoughts where it's just like, okay, let's just keep it cold and calculated, and what I can control is like being a better person and being better as an analyst, and once I'm cleared to go, then I'll worry about fighting. But until then, it's like I don't even want to bother with thinking about the drama and all the things that he might not be able to accomplish in his career, because he's been, as everyone knows, he's been plagued by injuries more than anyone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a sad situation, but he's really strong mentally. So I think if anyone could come back and come back to glory and top form, it's him.
Yeah.
So,
and he has before too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
3 times, 2 or 3 times he's come back from.
It's tough to it's like banging your head against the wall, right? Like every time you think you're heading the right direction, he's got another injury.
Yeah. Usually it's the knees, but this time, could look at it as a positive, at least his knees are functioning.
Right.
So there's that. And then
Jeremy Stevens has a big fight coming up.
Against Zabit. I won't even try that last name. I think I could say it. But Mara Shpovili. No, I don't even know.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's
He's
March
a tough
2nd.
grappler, right?
Yeah, March 2nd in Las Vegas. So that's going to be a crazy fight, I think. I think Zabit is one of the biggest talents in the UFC, and Jeremy Stevens is the hardest hitter in his weight class for sure. So they're going to bang heads, and it's going to be interesting. So I'm, devising a grappling game plan or an anti-grappling game plan, and we're going to see how that works out and shapes up for the next 8-9 weeks.
Nice.
So that'll be a really pivotal fight in Jeremy's career. He's just coming off that loss to Jose Aldo, which he was mauling Jose, and then Jose kind of got composed and landed a body shot, and the tide turned in that fight. So Jeremy was good at letting that dust settle, clearing his head, and having a new plan of attack for a new fight. Good. And he's a really positive guy, and a pleasure to work with. That guy is so positive. Everything he's doing is like, this is the best. You're the best. We're the best. Everything's the best. I'm like, okay. You're getting me excited.
Cool. Okay.
And so that'll be a good one. And then Jessica Penney's fighting in Phoenix on February 17th, I think.
Okay.
And then Miles Jury is also on that card. So it'll be a busy
the
little
Alliance
run.
Guys are busy.
Yeah.
Guys and gals.
Yeah. So that'll be, I'm glad they're not that far away. One's in Phoenix and one's in Vegas. So it's not like going to a different continent to go and travel for, which is good for the fighters, but also I have to think selfishly too, because leaving Adam and you is not the easiest thing sometimes. So it'll be a 3-4 day trip rather than a week or 10 days.
Good.
So there's that. And then my high school wrestlers, this is my passion project, dude. I love these kids. Where do I start? I guess I guess I could start with Jaden Lee. He is probably the most talented kid I work with. At the moment, he's ranked in the top 5 in state, and he just medaled or placed in the top 8 at the Walsh Ironman tournament, which is hands down the hardest tournament in the country. Flew out to Ohio in the dead of winter in the cold and wrestled his butt off and won 7 matches.
Wow.
And All-American, and is just super tough, man. And the guy works harder than anyone I've ever had in this garage, wrestler-wise. He, I mean, he's a junior, so if it's not his year this year, I'll put my money on him for next year to win state. So he's someone that, I know that's not that much of a fanfare thing, but it's definitely something I'm passionate about, these high school wrestlers. So yeah, he's definitely one.
Nice.
And then Joe Curtis. So Joe Curtis is huge. He's yoked. He's ripped. I'm nervous every time he comes in here. 182 pounds, and he's just maturing. So he was 138 last year's season, 138 pounder. And he's 182.
Every time I see him, which isn't that often, but still, I mean, once a month when I see him, it's like, wait.
That's the same kid.
You're the same kid. You're like that much wider and that much taller.
So this kid had his tonsils removed 3 months ago because he couldn't breathe for his whole life, I guess. They were so swollen. And he got him taken out, and now he can function for a whole match. So this last weekend, he went to the Reno Tournament of Champions and lost first round and won 8 straight matches, beating the number 9, 7, and 2 ranked wrestlers in California to take third. Which, if you don't know about bracketology and consolation and all those things for wrestling, where if you lose first round, you're in a meat grinder to get back to take third. Whereas in judo or even Olympic style wrestling, your day is done. It's over. You can't come back. There's no second chances.
Yeah. But mentally, it's so tough because you just got beat up, and now you have to, before you're even relevant, you have to win 5 matches in a row. And you're it's this uphill battle. And so I think mentally, obviously physically it's tough, but mentally that's a true test of character.
Yeah, and he doesn't know how good he is. I don't think the sky's the limit with him because he never could really function in a whole match because he can never breathe. and he works really hard, and he's made so many adjustments in here and in his wrestling room that every day is like 1% better. I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. He by the end of this season and next season, same thing as Jaden, could be state champ.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about those two specifically, and there's a bunch of other kids that I'm also excited about and I work with.
Yeah.
But those are probably
really promising freshman, right? Noah.
Yeah, Noah Tolentino. He made the quarterfinals of the Reno Tournament of Champions, and his brother I worked with for the 2 years prior to working with him, and he was a state placer from the powerhouse Poway High School, and they're ranked this season. I think they've dropped off a little bit, but they're still in the top 5 in the state and ranked nationally. But Noah Tolentino's a freshman, and he's wrestling at like a real weight class, not the 100-pound or 106-pound weight class. He's 132 pounds, and he made the quarters of Reno and lost 3-2 to the number 2 seed from Oklahoma, and the kid he lost to took all of his blood time, was stalling, got his second stall call, got a point. It was just, he lost because the kid's basically more experienced and stronger. So give him another month before he's really, reaches more of his potential and grows some like hair under his armpits. He's still like,
he looks like a boy.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense.
But he's super talented, man.
He's got a lot of potential.
So there's those 3. Those are probably my top blue chippers.
Yeah. It's always cool to see them come in here because these guys wrestling is a tough sport, and they're always in either traveling or at their high school practices and stuff. And then Sunday morning, Justin does his privates, and it's like from 7 to 10, 11 in the morning, like these guys who this is their one day off or their one day to be at home and play video games or whatever. 7 a.m. they're here driving 30 minutes to an hour and a half to grind. Like, it's pretty cool to see that commitment, both from the kids and the parents.
Yeah, they've all like entrusted me and with like the responsibility to get them better, and I do my best job, and I feel like with just being nudged in the right direction that all of them could reach their potential. Because a lot of times you get lost in your high school wrestling room and don't get the coaching you need because there's 40 other kids. So a lot of times the coaches actually are really psyched that I get to work with them. Sometimes not so much, but either way, it's the parents and the kids that make those decisions. Yeah. So I like it. It's cool. I think my body could do this for a couple more seasons, possibly. So
Maybe.
As long as they're lighter, no more Joe Curtis's weighing 190 pounds coming here, hitting my head with his arm, and I'll feel it for a week. And then moving on to the judo side of things, which is a little bit less active for me, where I love the sport and I'm on the mat doing judo a couple days a week and helping where I can, but it's still kind of up in the air what role I am as far as USA Judo. So I think I'll be getting word in the next few weeks, hopefully, what
see where that goes.
My schedule is for the IJF World Tour, which is the International Judo Federation has a tour that all the tournaments work into this world rankings list where every 4 years when the Olympics come, the top 18 qualify for the Olympics. And that would be the goal for me, at least, is to be the Olympic team coach. And I think I've done the necessary work to be that guy. It's just whether or not, the powers that be think so. So I think I'll find out soon. And if that position is mine, then I'll do my best to help where I can and to be the best support system and study opponents and also be a training partner to some degree and help out. So that'd be rad. I'd love to be not only considered for that, but to get that job, which I think I've done the legwork. And the last 2 world championships, I was on the website. It says I was the head coach. So I don't know what that means. So I think I can say I am, but no one's ever actually said, Justin, you're the head coach of the world team. So, So I think leading into 2020, I would like to know a little bit more about, how things are going, where funds are being allocated, and what tournaments, what camps, how we can get everyone together more often. Because in judo, it's like there's all these factions of teams that are kind of separated, whereas most other countries train together. And the U.S. is a little bit different because it's a little more detached from one another. Everyone travels.
Everyone kind of does their own thing, right?
Yeah, it does their own thing. There's no like national training center anymore where like there used to be one in Colorado Springs where you could train there no matter what. If you're not a member of that team, you could still go there because that's what it's for. It's for the athletes. If you are in the top 5 in the country, you can go train there.
Yeah.
So it's a little different now. So there's these regional training centers, and these regional training centers have their like head senseis, and these head senseis have opinions, and it gets confusing to what the agendas are for Team USA.
Mm-hmm.
So
more to come.
More to
on
come.
US judo, but
Yeah.
you're staying pretty busy with other things. You get your hands full.
Yeah,
in the meantime.
I got a bunch of seminars coming up in January and February. I think every weekend almost. I have like, or I think 6 weekends I have seminars and 2 UFCs planned. So as of now, I haven't gotten the call for any US judo trips, so nothing's like on the calendar for that. So yeah, it's now that
Cool.
I say it out loud, it's pretty.
It's busy.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. But yeah,
Cool.
it'll be interesting to see how it all works out leading into the end of the quadrennium. So hopefully we have a lot of qualifiers going to the Olympics, and I get to kind of tag along as the coach.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything
I think it might be time to wrap this up.
to retire the Flow Factory podcast number 10?
Is this number 10?
This is number.
Okay.
Well, actually, we've done 11, but we can't release one of them yet. So we'll see if we ever get to.
TBD.
Yeah. Well, check us out on YouTube, and SoundCloud. No, not SoundCloud.
YouTube.
YouTube. So enjoy UFC 232. Root for Cats and Gano, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks, honey, for being on with me.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
Good night.